War creates monsters, but it also creates men who do the impossible. Some soldiers run out of ammo. These guys picked up shovels. Some pilots lose their entire crew. They land the plane alone. Some Marines get hit with a flamethrower and keep charging while on fire. Others stop an entire assault with a flare gun, catch a live grenade mid-air, or perform surgery with nothing but a pocket knife and a flashlight. These aren't myths. These aren't war stories. These are real moments witnessed by real people where ordinary men refused to die and ended up rewriting the limits of human survival. Today, you're about to hear 6 of the most jaw-dropping, impossible, absolutely insane combat stories ever recorded. The kind of stories that make you question what a human being is actually capable of. Let's get into it. The soldier who stopped a charge with a flare gun. Not a rifle, not a grenade, a bright red firework meant for signaling. And it scared the enemy so badly they thought it was some kind of secret US superweapon. It happened in the Pacific late in the war when a US patrol was ambushed by a massive bonsai charge coming straight out of the tree line. Dozens of screaming soldiers rushing them at once, and the patrol's frontline guy realized his rifle was jammed. No time to fix it, no time to think. The enemy was seconds away, so he grabbed the only thing he had in his pocket. A flare gun. He yanked it up, fired point blank at the lead attacker, and the jungle lit up like a miniature sun. The flare hit the charging soldier in the chest, exploded into a burning ball of magnesium, and the man immediately went up in flames. The attackers behind him froze. Nobody had ever seen a weapon do that. They thought the Americans had just pulled out some insane new incinerator pistol. The soldier fired again, another blinding red blast cutting through the jungle. Panic rippled down the line. Men started diving into the dirt, screaming warnings, trying to get away from whatever that burning hell shot was. The bonsai charge collapsed right there. A full assault stopped by a single terrified soldier holding a sky flare. When reinforcements arrived later, they found the enemy's footprints scattered in every direction, like they'd all tried to run at once. The soldier's rifle? Still jammed. His flare gun? Completely empty. But he'd done what a lot of heavier firepower couldn't. He made the enemy too scared to keep fighting. A flare gun meant for emergencies became the thing that saved an entire patrol. The Marine who caught a live grenade and threw it back. He didn't dodge the grenade, he caught it. A live, hissing, burning grenade, and witnesses swore it looked so unreal they thought it had to be staged. Vietnam, early morning. A Marine squad was moving through dense brush when an enemy fighter lobbed a grenade straight at them from only a few yards away. It wasn't a gentle arc. It was a fast, brutal throw. Everyone saw it coming. Everyone braced for the blast. But one Marine didn't flinch. He stepped into it. The grenade slammed into his chest, bounced off his gear, and instead of diving for cover, he snatched it out of the air like a baseball. He didn't even look down. He just turned, whipped his arm back, and threw it straight into the tree line before anyone could scream, "Get down!" A second later, boom! A violent burst shook the jungle. Leaves rained down. Birds scattered. The whole squad felt the concussion. And the Marine? He wiped the dust off his sleeve like nothing happened. His squad just stared at him, half convinced they'd imagined it. One guy later said it felt like watching someone catch lightning. Another swore the timing was impossible, that nobody could do that on purpose. But everyone agreed on one thing: he didn't hesitate. Not for a fraction of a second. It was pure instinct tied to raw nerve. That one act saved the entire squad from being torn apart. No shrapnel, no dead Marines, just disbelief and ringing ears. Years later, the story kept resurfacing, retold by guys who were there, each version starting the same way. "You won't believe this, but I swear to God, he caught the damn grenade. He performed surgery with a pocket knife and a flashlight, and the patient survived. Not in a hospital, not in a tent, but in the middle of a firefight, with bullets snapping overhead and dirt raining from blast shockwaves. It happened in Korea. A US medic and his unit were pinned down behind a frozen embankment when one soldier took shrapnel deep in his abdomen. Bad. The kind of wound that kills fast. They had no surgeon, no tools, and no way to evacuate. Enemy machine guns owned the field. The medic took one look and realized the truth. If he waited for help, the man was dead. If he tried something insane, maybe he had a chance. So he did the insane thing. He grabbed his pocket knife, the same one he used for opening rations, wiped it on his sleeve, and told 2 soldiers to hold the wounded man down. Another Marine held a flashlight between his teeth, shaking from fear and cold. The medic went in. He cut through clothing, skin, and frozen blood while his patient thrashed and screamed. He dug for the metal lodged inside, feeling blindly because he had no surgical instruments, just his fingers. The flashlight flickered with every breath. Machine gun bursts echoed across the field, throwing dust into the air. He found the shrapnel, pulled it out with 2 fingers, then used a sewing kit, a literal sewing kit, to stitch the gut closed. It took 10 minutes. 10 minutes of pure chaos, pain, and grit. But when he finished, the soldier was alive. A week later, that soldier walked into the aid station under his own strength. The doctors there refused to believe the story until the medic showed them the pocket knife. No scalpels, no anesthesia, no operating room. Just a medic who refused to let someone die without trying something impossible. Sometimes war creates monsters, and sometimes it creates miracles, held together by a pocket knife and a flashlight.
The Korean War Marine who fought off a night assault with a shovel. He ran out of ammo, so he grabbed a shovel and started splitting skulls in the dark. In Korea's frozen mountains, Marines held a ridge that wasn't supposed to be survivable. Temperatures below 0, snow so thick you could barely breathe. And then, in the middle of the night, the hills lit up with trumpet blasts, the signal of a full-scale Chinese human wave assault. Thousands of soldiers charging straight at them. One Marine, already exhausted and half frozen, raised his rifle, and it jammed. He cleared it, jammed again, and then he realized the real problem. He was out of ammo completely. No bullets, no backup. Just the sound of footsteps pounding through the snow toward him. He had 2 options: run or die standing. He chose a third. He ripped his entrenching tool out of the ice, gripped it like an axe, and braced for impact. The first Chinese soldier leaped at him. He swung. The metal edge split the man's skull clean open. More attackers swarmed out of the dark. He didn't retreat, he didn't wait. He charged them, swinging, smashing, chopping, turning a simple shovel into a medieval weapon. Every hit was bone, ice, and blood spraying into the night. By the time reinforcements pushed up the ridge, the sun was rising, and he was still there, surrounded by bodies, frost on his gear, hands covered in blood. He had held an entire section of the line alone, with nothing but a bent, bloody shovel. Ask any veteran of Chosin. Sometimes the difference between living and dying wasn't a rifle, wasn't a machine gun. It was sheer rage, raw willpower, and a man refusing to back up even 1 inch. This wasn't strategy, this wasn't tactics. This was one Marine deciding the enemy was going to break before he did. The World War II pilot who landed his bomber after every crew member was dead. He flew a dying bomber alone, bleeding out because every other man on the plane was already dead. Somewhere over Europe, a B-17 Flying Fortress took a hit that should have blown it out of the sky. Anti-aircraft fire ripped through the cockpit. One engine exploded. The nose of the aircraft was shredded open like a tin can. Inside, the crew was thrown around like rag dolls. When the smoke cleared cleared, only one man was still conscious, the pilot. He looked back and saw the nightmare, his co-pilot slumped over, the navigator gone, the bombardier unresponsive, the waist gunners silent. Every man he relied on was either dead or dying. And the plane? It was barely a plane anymore. It was a burning, shaking metal coffin with wings. Most pilots would bail out, but he didn't have a parachute on. Nobody had been expecting the hit. If he jumped, he'd die, and if he didn't fly the plane, it would crash into a village below and kill civilians. So he made a decision no sane person would make. He strapped himself to the controls so he wouldn't pass out from blood loss, and kept flying. Wind blasted straight through the holes in the fuselage. The altimeter was useless. The radio was dead. The engines sounded like they were coughing up their last breaths. He was holding on to consciousness in 10-second bursts, forcing himself awake every time he felt darkness pulling him down. Yet he somehow lined up with the runway. He somehow kept the plane steady. He somehow coaxed the dead bomber home. When the wheels slammed onto the ground, it wasn't a landing. It was a controlled crash from a man hanging on by threads. Rescue crews rushed the bomber and found something unreal. The pilot still tied to the controls, half dead but alive. The only living soul on a plane full of ghosts. Most pilots fly with a crew. This one flew with nothing left but pain, fear, and a promise he refused to break.
The Marine who took a flamethrower blast and kept fighting. He got hit with a full flamethrower blast, turned into a fireball, and still kept charging the enemy bunker. On a scorched Pacific island, Marines were pinned down by a Japanese bunker that seemed impossible to kill. Every attempt to get close ended in machine gun bursts, tearing men apart. So one Marine decided he'd do it himself, sprint straight toward it with a grenade and end the fight. He broke cover and ran. The bunker crew saw him instantly, and they fired the one weapon every Marine feared, a flamethrower. The blast hit him dead on. He disappeared inside a boiling cloud of fire. His uniform erupted. His gear melted. For a moment, the squad thought he'd been vaporized, but then he came out of the flames still running. On fire, skin burning, grenade still in his hand. He didn't drop. He didn't scream. He didn't stop. He climbed the side of the bunker while burning alive, kicked open the hatch, and dropped the grenade inside. The explosion silenced the entire position. When medics reached him, they saw the impossible. He had survived a point-blank flamethrower hit long enough to take out the strongest enemy position on the field. The bunker was gone. The line moved forward, and the Marine who should have died in the first second ended the fight in the last. There are brave soldiers, there are tough soldiers, but the ones who keep fighting while literally on fire, that's a different category of human entirely. War doesn't just test skill. It tests the limits of the human mind, body, and will. And the 6 stories you just heard, they're proof that some people refuse to break, even when every law of nature says they should have died. A soldier stopping a charge with a flare gun. A Marine catching a live grenade like it was nothing. A medic performing surgery with a pocket knife in the dark. A pilot landing a corpse-filled bomber alone. A Marine fighting off an assault with a shovel. And a man who took a flamethrower blast to the chest and kept going. These aren't superheroes. They weren't born different. They were regular men who hit moments of pure hell and chose to push forward anyway. And if there's one message to take from all of this, it's simple. History is full of unbelievable stories, but the ones that get forgotten are sometimes the most insane of all. So if you want more of these brutal, unfiltered, no BS war stories, if you want the hidden chapters, the classified missions, the soldiers you've never heard of, then stay locked in, because this channel is just getting started. We've got more videos coming, more forgotten warriors, more insane operations, more moments that make you stop and say, there's no way that actually happened.
So do me a favor, if you made it this far, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me which story shocked you the most. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss the next episode. Because trust me, what's coming next is even crazier. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.